the one thing I didn't ever want to have was regret. Like, I just didn't want to look back and wonder and be like, what if I had done that? So I was like, all right, I'm going to give it everything I got for a year. So then I did it for a year. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it one more year. Still kind of TBD. And then I remember when you took a lesson, which was only like a couple months ago, that was like the first time that I was like, all right, I'm going to stop talking about like going back to my old job now.
The sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take a ride, we can take it slow, yo.
Welcome back to the Road to Self-Love. It's your boy Paul Fishman here, ready to have an amazing conversation with my friend Britt from Swell Press.
So I say hi.
Yeah, that's what you do. You say hi. Do I say hi? And I'm so excited to have this conversation with her because Britt is just a creative. She's gone through that struggle. This truck is parked in the middle of the street. We're just going to get through it. We're going to make it all happen.
I think what you should do is just do like the fake driving on a green screen.
Oh.
You know?
Once again, so like grateful that you think that I have that type of budget. It means so much to me. We are currently melting in the sun, but production value is more important than my comfort. Britt loves it in the car. So Britt, you know what? I've tried really, really hard to introduce my guests, but I think that it's way better if my guests just introduce themselves. So why don't you tell us like a little bit about you, like who you are, what makes you just like so excited to live life?
Oh man, okay. I'm Britt Rohr. I have a company called Swell Press. So we are a boutique design and printing company, and you know, it started as like a side hustle / hobby a couple years ago, and over the past few years, it's grown and is now my full-time business. I'm very passionate about sharing what I do, and sharing, you know, like the struggles of what it takes to get to, not to say get to this point, like, oh, you're such a big deal, but like to, you know, to just have a business that's
You're a big deal.
No, to have a business. I'm super sensitive to like Instagram's a highlight reel and all that stuff. Like it's not real life. So I always want to be transparent about this. So I'm happy to be here and be able to share that with you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to let you do more introduction along the way, but I just heard something that you said that I really want to talk about with you. And it's about Instagram as the highlight reel. I couldn't even hold, because that's really what I personally think. I know that like you're super creative and you have like amazing things going on that has really supported your business, like just growing and thriving and being amazing.
Sorry. No.
Well, I wasn't clear with what I was saying. With you being so vulnerable and authentic with your business, and just so, was there like a time when you weren't truly authentic on Instagram?
I'm protective about it because it's like I want to be transparent to some level about my struggles and everything, but because that's the community that I have on Instagram. It's other creative entrepreneurs. I get so many DMs from people saying that like, you know, they admire what I'm doing or they want to do what I'm doing, but at the same time, my customers, like the people who actually like pay the bills and support Swell Press, are mostly brides and grooms and stuff like that. So I try to I don't want to seem like I'm complaining, because I don't want my customers to feel like I might not have a grip on things or something like that I'm not running like a well-oiled machine. So sometimes I feel like I'm like caught in between two things, where there are times when I just want to be like, this is so fucking hard. But then at the same time, I don't want like Jane, my bride, to be like, oh my God, she can't handle my stuff or anything like that. So it's kind of like this dance I have to do. But yeah, I mean, I suffer hardcore from comparison theory. I mean, like I love Instagram, and it's why I have my business, and I'm so grateful for it. But at the same time, like I really, really limit what I look at other people, because like I started to do this practice last year of like when I did something, just something that was like silly, like wasting time on Instagram or like watching mindless TV and zoning out for a couple hours, I would like ask myself after, and I'm like, do I feel better after having done that? And I found with Instagram, if I would ever go on like more my personal account or something like that, and I would scroll, the answer was always no. It was like, I don't feel more filled up as a person after, you know, mindlessly scrolling through Instagram for 30 minutes, because I'm always looking at what other people are doing. And I think it's weird because I know some people look at me and they might feel that same way, like, oh my God, she's doing so much. But it's like, I look at other people too and think that. So I think that's really important to keep in mind.
It's very, very important. What you said, I was kind of like thinking about as you were speaking when you said that you don't want your clients to think that you don't have it all together. Do you think that in a sense, like, that's not being authentic to who you really are? Because, like, I know you have it all together, but, like, that's business, you know? Business is always growing. So, like, do you think that putting up this facade of just, like, pretending like, you know, you've got it all together when, like, you know, you're growing, you're doing all this stuff, and you're moving, you're figuring it out, like, you have to process orders, but also, like, in between stuff, like, you know, that's real life. Do you think that that's more valuable than, like, having this, like...
Well, I think there's two, and I guess I should I think there's two touch points I basically have with my customers. It's my current clients, it's like the emails with them and all that stuff, and then what they might see on Instagram. Like, I try to always be, like, super professional in our emails, so I'm never like, oh my gosh, sorry client, I'm sorry it's so late, I'm just dealing with all this stuff. Like, I don't believe in that. I think if you're running a business, like, you should be professional, and if you're paying someone for their service, you know, so all that. But, like, so I do think I'm definitely more vulnerable on Instagram. And I've gotten to be, like, over the past couple years, I feel like I almost see it as a responsibility. Like, and I know that sounds super cheesy, but, like, as my numbers grow, which again, I'm rolling my eyes because I know it's just a number and it doesn't really mean anything, but in some ways it does mean something. I do see it somewhat as a responsibility. If I have people, you know, looking at what I do or wanting to learn from me, I think there is, you know, I have to be somewhat transparent about it. And I can't just paint this, like, beautiful glossy picture of the final product, like the final product, which is what a lot of my photos are. Like, it is the beautiful final product, but, like, the shit that went into it, I try to be, you know, I try to be honest about.
I love your honesty on Instagram. I love how you are so open and vulnerable, and I think it's just, like, it's what truly attracted me to you. It's what attracted me to want to work with you, to have you create my wedding invitations, which unfortunately never happened because Britt never responded to my email.
No. Okay, just for the record,
It was me.
It was you.
I know.
I remember when you reached out to me, I was like, I remembered your email, and the subject line was, I thought it said all the Beyonce realness. I thought that was the subject line, but then I looked back, I found the email, and it said all the unicorn feels or something, and you wanted, like, this fantastic wedding invitation. And I was like, did I never write back to him? But I did.
You did, and I really wanted that so badly. But it, you know, so I just really think it's so cool how you have built this business on Instagram. And I think it's really, really important for you, having said that, I turn into, like, comparison theory, which I like to call Compare-Dashian. So it's like knowing, like, right here and now. I would love for you to give a tip, or maybe 7, maybe just 2, of how you move through that when you notice that you're comparing yourself to others, because everyone does it.
I often step back and think about myself and, like, what if someone saw me on the surface on Instagram, what they would be thinking, and that they have no idea what I'm going through or what I've really been through. You know, some people maybe to an extent do. I just have to, like, step back and think about that. You know, and I think about people I know, like, or, like, dear friends who have, like, gone through hard times or whatever, but if you look at their Instagram, it's like there's no hint of that or anything. It's like we all are our own, like, PR person painting this, like, the best image of ourselves we possibly can. And, like, I get it, but it's also just, I don't know, it wears on me. So I think that's my tip. It's not, like, a quick tip, but it's just, like, think about yourself. And if someone looked at your pictures, they would probably think that you're just, like, living the high life, which maybe you are, but.
Yeah. I like that. It kind of reminds me of something I like to say, you know, worry less about what others think of you and more about what you think of others too, you know, and also it's like, so there's just this way where we don't have to worry, we don't have to have that faux pas, you know, fear of other people's opinions. You like it?
Yeah.
You like it? You love it. Awesome. So I think this is a great time to transition because I could talk about Instagram all day, but I really want to know, like, deeper, like, into your journey of becoming an entrepreneur. And really, it's really important for me for for you to share that piece of your story, because you weren't always a full-time business owner.
No.
So, tell us what you used to do, what sparked this idea to learn how to press words into paper, and where you are now. And also, I'm sweating, so it's great.
Well, let me see. It started in Atlanta, Georgia in 1985.
Is that when you were born? Oh, wow.
No, okay. I worked in production. So in LA, when you say production, people know it means like TV, film, or commercial. But when I would go back to Atlanta and tell people production, they'd be like, what do you produce? Like, do you work at a factory? So I should clarify, it was film and TV production, and I did that for many years, and I was always somewhat artistic and crafty and all of that stuff, and I took a letterpress lesson. Side note, letterpress is a specific printing method that I do. I took a letterpress lesson on the side. I had a New Year's resolution to do one new thing a month that year, which I highly recommend everyone, if there's like a year where you can do it, to do it, because it was such a fun experience. I did so much cool shit. So I took a letterpress lesson. I fell in love with it, and I kind of just like became addicted. So I started it as a side hustle, and then I eventually like bought a press and started an Instagram, which took me forever. I used to just like do it for myself, and I would like send people photos and all that stuff. And then my husband's like, you've got to get an Instagram. And I was terrified, because anytime you put anything out there, it's scary, because you're putting like a piece of yourself out there for like the world to judge if they want. So I finally did that, and then the side hustle kind of just grew, and I was doing both. I was doing, full-time production, freelancing, and then I was building Swell Press, and eventually it got to the point where it was like I had a full-time job and I had a full-time business, and it was just too much. Like, I didn't have a day off. I was totally beat, and I was like, all right, something's got to give. So I kind of like laid the groundwork in as much of a responsible way as I could. Like, I had enough money saved to last me 6 months and all that kind of stuff. So,
excuse me, sir, we're recording over here.
Excuse me, I'm telling my story.
If you could turn your music down, that'd be really sweet of you.
So I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I had like a couple, somewhat, maybe like a nervous breakdown, and I was like, something's got to give. So laid the plan out, saved the money, decided to get a studio space, and I was like, I'm just going to give it everything I've got for a year, because I didn't really know what was going to happen. I didn't hate my other job. Like, I actually loved production. It was a great job. But I just felt like the one thing I didn't ever want to have was regret. Like, I didn't want to look back and wonder and be like, what if I had done that? So I was like, all right, I'm going to give it everything I got for a year. So then I did it for a year, and then after that, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it one more year, still kind of TBD. And then I remember when you took a lesson, which was only like a couple months ago, that was like the first time that I was like, all right, I'm going to stop talking about like going back to my old job now. Like, Swell Press is going to be my life for the foreseeable future. Because I always, even then, had like one foot in and one foot out, because I could always go back to the job. So that was it. And then you're catching me at a weird time right now, because we just signed the Swell Press just signed a 3-year lease at a new location, which is, it brought up a lot of emotions, I'll say, because it's a big move to a different space that has a lot more room to grow and stuff like that. So yeah, so that move just happened, which brought up so many emotions as far as like, okay, I'm committing to this for 3 years. Like, there's no going back now. Yeah, so that's where we are now.
I love that story. I think that it's so cool to just like hear from start to finish. Can you give like a breakdown the timeline so people can hear like how many like years you were like, how long have you been doing this for, like part-time to full-time?
Yeah, so let me see. Maybe since I like first touched a press, it's been 4.5 years. So it was a side hustle, something I was doing, just in every free moment I could get for 2.5 years. And then it's been my full-time gig for just 2 years now.
So I just wanted to take this time to remind anyone who's listening or watching that if you want something, it's not there are lucky people who it happens overnight too, but it takes a long time to make anything happen. And what I really, really love to point out about Britt is that like she was comfortable where she was and she didn't have any reason to do this, but she knew that she had to do it. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because what would you say to someone who is kind of in the same shoes? Like, I feel like comfort is like the killer of dreams. But what would you say to someone who like has this comfortable job, but like also has like this dream, this desire, this like, well, I'm gonna regret if I don't do it, but there might be a lot of fear coming up. Like, how did you step through that fear?
I'm still, every single day I'm terrified. Like it's different when you have your own business. Like, your ass is on the line. You don't have an entity of a company or anything protecting you. Like, it is you. So I don't know if there will ever be a time when I'm not scared. Like, I'm always scared, but I think my tolerance to a lot of things, I think my tolerance for stress has just increased. And I think my tolerance for fear, like, I just don't really, I'm a lot better now at like identifying when I have like these scary thoughts and just being like, okay, well, that's just that, and I just don't really have a choice. I'm just gonna like not really indulge in it. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, like this time right now, it's a interesting time for my psyche, because it's been so much fear coming up, because this new move is like a huge commitment. It is, the rent that we're paying at this new space is like astronomical. So it's all like, it was kind of forcing me to like step up in so many ways. So I'm still scared, but I'm like, you just have to, there's like a picture, I've seen it on Instagram, but it's like a little circle and it's like, this is your comfort zone and this is where the magic happens. Like, I don't really think, if you're a super lucky person, maybe the magic happens when you're in your comfort zone, but like, I don't want to look back at life and be like, I wish I really would have taken that leap. And I think that was the main thing that was like driving me, is like, I knew that if I quit after a year, I would have always been like, well, what if, like, what would have happened if I had just kept going? So
that's so cool that you had that like understanding of where you were in your life. And I just really want to commend you, because a lot of my clients like really are at that breaking point and they're really terrified to take the leap into something that they truly, truly want. It's getting foggy in here.
It's getting steamy.
Literally, sorry, just gonna have to turn the air on a little bit.
I want to do the Kate Winslet Titanic.
It's over here more. It's just like I'm just emanating heat over here. So let's just move this a little bit. So with that in mind, you said fear is a daily thing for you. There's just, you've got to have like a nugget that you can give us. Like, take us back to like a day where you were just like so terrified. Like, what got you?
Yesterday.
Okay, great. Well, what happened? What got you through yesterday?
Just like not having, I feel like I don't really have a choice. Like, you're just like, no, I don't have a choice but to move forward and to try to just like kick ass as much as I can. Like, it's not really, I don't know. I mean, but yeah, just yesterday I was like nauseous all day. Like, I literally couldn't even eat all day because I had so many things coming up. We have a lot going on right now with work. So couple that with moving 10,000 pounds of equipment in an entire studio and all that stuff. Like I was saying, like I knew the universe was going to test me. Like, I knew things were going to happen. Whether it was like something being delivered to the wrong address or something being printed wrong or all of that stuff. Like, I just weirdly kind of like anticipated that everything was going to be heightened right now. Like, my anxiety was going to be heightened and my emotions and all that stuff. So I kind of was like, I know the universe is going to test me, but like I heard on Oprah's podcast once, if you ask God for patience, he'll give you a line at the bank. Mm-hmm. So I always think about that. It's like, okay, I'm trying to like be successful, and by successful I just mean successful where like I can look in the mirror and be like, you are successful and all that stuff. I don't mean like making a certain amount of money, even though I do have that in mind. So I'm in this attempt to try to like build what I want to build and be successful. I knew that challenges were going to come up because that's really the only way that you can learn and grow and develop. It's like a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. I think that's a quote or something. So yep. I think about that.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about where you've been, where you've came from, we've talked about Instagram, we've talked about all of these like tools that you've been using on the day, and a lot about fear too. And I think that it's a great time now to lighten up the mood and play a road trip game.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Yeah.
So I think that like you are just a creative in your own, and she's cracking her knuckles. She's nervous, fam. We are going to play the story game. Are you familiar with the story game?
No.
Okay, so you and I are going to tell a story together.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll try it. But improv is like the most.
Well,
Okay.
and this is how it works. I'm going to say a word, and then you're going to say a word.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say a word, and you're going to say a word.
Okay.
And so what are we going to tell our story about?
It's going to be about the time that we kept driving east and then ended up in this vacant parking lot, and there was this weird car parked, and it was this like really old school Cadillac, and it was amazing. And then the door opened and a bedazzled shoe steps out. It was a loafer.
And it was mine. Okay, so...
And it was none other than...
Okay, so I love the story that you just told without
No!
my help.
I wanted you to say who it was. I was saying it was a bedazzled loafer, and then
okay.
I was setting it up so then you could be like...
Got it,
We're
okay.
supposed to do a word at a time. I'm like, once.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Once.
Wow. If you are not watching on YouTube, like please go over and cut to that part. I can't give you an actual timestamp, but like how like Britt's eyes that she just rolled were seriously to end all rolled eyes. Like,
Okay.
but I really liked your concept. I just wasn't clear what was going on. So I like that. We can continue on with the story.
That's how it worked when I've seen improv.
Okay, great. So we're gonna do that. You've given me a new game to play. So I'm gonna then continue the story with way more than one word. Okay. So you said a bedazzled shoe stepped out, and then out of the corner of my eye, I saw a disco ball start to spin in this vacant lot, and all of a sudden, the sun went down, and it was this magical moment, and there she was in all of her glory, RuPaul standing in front of us, about to sashay her way towards us, and at that moment, I said to Britt, your turn.
I know it's my turn. At that moment, you said to me, that dress would look good on you, too. And I looked down, and somehow I had transformed out of my sweaty workout clothes that I'm wearing right now into this fully bedazzled, amazing dress. And then RuPaul, can I call her Ru?
Yeah,
Ru?
yeah, we're best friends.
Ru points to Paul and says,
Honey, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anyone else? And you can use that in your business as a self-love coach. I've heard a lot about you, sweetie, and I am so proud that you are spreading the good message to love yourself from the inside out. But you know what? These clothes aren't going to work for you. So pit crew, come on out.
And then the pit crew comes, and to my surprise, it's a bunch of miniature Jeff Goldblums, and it's 6 of them, and they all come and they all work on untying the laces of your Golden Goose sneakers that you're wearing right now. And then they go, voila! And you're wearing
the same dress that you are wearing and Ru is
but
wearing.
you look better in it than me.
I mean,
And it's a point of contention.
well, you know, the end. That was the best story that I've ever told with the story game.
Oh,
So
good. I'm glad I hijacked that and just really made it our...
You know what? But I'm really proud because, like, I'm really grateful that you did that because now I have a way better story game to tell. So let's talk about collaboration because when I came to do my lesson with Britt and made these beautiful note cards that I send to all of my clients and all of my guests who are on the show, but I'm not going to give you one because you already have one.
It's fine.
You made it, and I need to savor them. Having Britt put me on her Instagram, I probably over the course of the time have like gotten like 3 clients. I think 3 or 4.
Should I give you the address for my 10% referral fee?
Yeah.
No, I want to tell you something about that. I'm sidestepping, but and I don't know if this isn't like
fine.
weird to
No,
share,
no.
but afterwards you reached out to me because we had printed these cards, and you reached out to me and asked for me how much it would be to do a reprint.
Yeah.
And I told you the price, and you wrote back and you were like, I can't really remember it, but basically you were like, oh, that's a little bit over budget because what I do is expensive, and understandably so. And you were like, do you think like you could do a certain amount for this number? And I remember seeing that email because I'm trying to reach this point where I have like boundaries, and I'm firm with like my pricing, because sometimes when you do a craft, whether it's coaching or doing anything, you have people that like ask for discounts, which wasn't what you were doing, but I have a minimum to what I do. And I was like, no, I can't do it for that price. And I felt so guilty sending that, and I felt so uncomfortable, but I was trying to like be better and like honor my truth of like what I said I was going to do. And I was so nervous writing it back. And then you wrote me back, and it like brought me to tears. And you were like, good for you. I'm so happy you're not undervaluing yourself, and you know your worth. Like, you go, and I'll come back to you when like we can meet that higher budget. And it honestly was, it was like a godsend, because I felt so uncomfortable saying no. And then you made me feel so good about saying no to you. And I was like, it did bring me to tears. It was the most perfect response, and it was, I don't know, it made a huge difference actually in how I approach things in the future when I would be asked for people to do things at a reduced rate or for a discount. And that gave me the confidence to securely be like, no, I'm not going to do it for a discounted rate or something like that. So I just want to give props to you for how much that meant to me.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I wanted to talk about worthiness, so we can talk about collaboration in a little bit. But worthiness in itself, and I've actually, this is a massive thing that I coach about, and you already answered the question, but I just wanted to like preface with the question that I would have wanted to ask you, is just like, you know, I'd really like to know, like, how did that change even more so? Like, have you found that like you have this more confidence, like, you know, like the power in saying no? Like, has it given you more freedom to say no?
Yeah, I think saying no is huge. It's important, because like when I started, I was so excited just to get an opportunity to do anything that I would say yes to everything. Mm-hmm. And then I again heard a quote somewhere that was like, every yes you say, you're saying no to something that you might not even know about. So I started really guarding my yeses. And then this one year when I felt like particularly burnt out, I was like, you know what? This is going to be my year of the no. I'm going to say no to most things that come my way. And that year was the year that like my business grew the most. Ironically, it was the year I started saying no was the year that like all these other yeses that felt more like aligned to like what I want to do came to happen. But I think the feeling of worthiness, especially for creatives, is really hard, because it's hard to put a price on, especially on a service. It's like, you know, what is this thing? It's not a physical product, you know, some things are, but it's mostly like a service. And how do you charge it? And I constantly, like, I work with other people sometimes, and they give me their rates, and I'm like, you need to raise your prices. Like, what are you doing? This is so low. So like, I'm a huge advocate for people believing in like their worthiness and stuff like that. But that's not to say it's not hard, and it's not to say like there's not moments when I don't, you know, doubt myself and wonder, oh my God, like, am I worth what I'm asking for right now?
Wow. So that comes up a lot for you. I think that like you are just the poster child for like stepping into something so terrifying, but you know that you have to do it for yourself. And then just like you continue to learn the lessons. And what I think is really cool about you is like you're not regressing. You know, like you learn the lessons and you take action on those lessons. And I think it's really, really important to notice that about yourself. And I like getting emotional. So it's like, it's just so cool to be in your presence and like hear your story and know that like not only were you able to step into like this career that was the unknown, but also like slay it, and you do amazing work with like big brands and like have really cool creative suites. So, but I'd love you to tell the story about the time that you did something way under budget and how it made you feel.
Well, when I was just getting started, I would do everything for a discount just for the chance to do it. And I have various thoughts about that. I think when you undervalue yourself and you underprice your services, you're doing a huge disservice to the community of the industry that you're in, basically. So, in retrospect, I'm kind of like about that. But you know, some jobs I've underpriced and I've totally regretted it, and it's been awful. But other jobs I do because, you know, maybe they don't have the budget, but creatively they fulfill me, and like that's what drives me. It's like the stuff that excites me creatively. So it's kind of like the, you know, to quote Vincent Chase from Entourage, it's like the one for you, one for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about like budget. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'll do that one, and then I'm going to do this like lower budget job for myself.
That's what I feel about Instagram posts. You know,
Yeah.
one for you guys, one for me, or else I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it's whatever. So, but we're not talking about Instagram anymore. I love that. I think that I just need to highlight how everyone who is watching this or listening to it, I just want you to take note about how even though Britt is fucking terrified every single day, like she said, going to the business, she still perseveres and she still pushes through. And I hope that you're also, this big message that I'm being hit with is that if you're listening to this or watching this, you are meant to hear this. And I'm curious, Britt, like how many times did the universe try to teach you a lesson, whether it's stepping through fear or raising your rates or things, before you actually like took it seriously and listened? Like what was like the breaking point for you? Because I have a breaking point in mind for myself, but I'd love to know yours.
I without giving too much away, I've had a few people that I've worked with that I felt like I needed to draw the line at some point, and I didn't. Ultimately, I think a fatal flaw of mine is that like I tend to be somewhat of a people pleaser, and I tend to push my own limitations aside, hence why I'm working on boundaries, because I just want the other person to be so happy and to have such a great experience. And in doing that, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, I really should have drawn the line there, because at the end of the day, I should have cut it off. Like it wasn't a good experience, and I wasn't like I wasn't following my gut, because there's times when like you just have a gut feeling, and that's like the one thing, and that's my business. Like I've done decisions sometimes that might not like financially make sense, but in my gut they just felt right, and I feel like that's why I've been able to grow. It's because I've never, you know, with the exception of a couple projects that stand out in my mind, I've never not followed my gut, and I think that's really important. Like even when I wanted to start the business, people thought I was crazy. They were like, wedding invitations, who like sends that out? Like, isn't it like the world of Evite? And I'm like, just trust me, it'll be okay.
It'll be okay. You're like, just trust yourself, Britt.
Yeah, yeah. So I always try to like check in and listen to my gut. Again, like moving to this new space, it's literally what I've always wanted. I wanted a space where I could invite other creatives to come there and to have, you know, and to like host workshops and all that stuff. And my gut was just saying yes, even though if you look at it on paper, like business-wise, it's like, should you really be doing that? I don't know, but yeah.
Well, once again, you operate from this thought of, will I regret it if I don't? And I think that's a really cool place, like a cool question to ask. So if like anyone's listening or can relate to like the concept of like not stepping into your business or a relationship or transformation fully, like, will you regret not doing it?
Yeah, I would imagine myself, like, in a year from now, if I looked back and I didn't make this choice, would I regret it? Like, would I be heartbroken? And that's, like, mostly the true north of what I do. It's like, is this what feels most right to me?
That's so good. I'm obsessed. We need to play another road trip game.
Okay.
And this is the game I play with everyone. And just a reminder, self-love is uncensored. We are going to play Fuck, Marry, Kill, but with inanimate objects. And today we are going to play Fuck, Marry, Kill with letterpress. Okay. Screen printing and hand calligraphy.
Oh, okay. I gotta marry letterpress because that's
Yeah.
the choice I've done. Wait, I'm gonna fuck screen printing because my husband's a screen printer, so that makes sense. And I'm gonna kill hand calligraphy, even though if you know me, you know that's not the truth. But you know, if it's between myself and my husband, sorry.
Well, your best friend who does hand calligraphy, hopefully she's
Yeah,
not
sorry,
listening.
sorry, Nicole.
I was really excited to ask you though. I had a feeling that's how I was gonna go. So, I mean, Britt, I could talk to you forever, and it means so much to me that you're here. I just have like a couple of more questions,
Thanks.
and I'd really just love to know, first of all, like, what does self-love mean to you?
Self-love means being unapologetically who you are. I think that's something I've, I mean, like growing up, I always kind of felt like I was like an outsider, which is weird because I think you wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, she's a weirdo, but like in my head, I like never really fit in. And then I just remember like being younger, my parents instilled like a good deal of confidence in me. I don't, they just were kind of always like, you can do whatever you want to do. We believe in you. So I think at like a somewhat of a young age when I felt like I didn't fit in, I was always just like, well, whatever, I'm just going to be myself and like, fuck it. So I think that's a lot of self-love. It's just like, this is who I am. And it doesn't mean that I have to be this way or fit into this group. It's just like, that's what it is. And I'm not going to apologize for it.
You are just the poster child for the road to self-love. I love it. It means so much to me. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful definition. And where can everyone find you if they're like getting married and they don't want to be savage like me and never respond to your emails? Like, where do they find you?
You can find me at Swellpress. That's my Instagram handle. Or my website is swellpresspaper.
Amazing. Well, Britt, thank you so much for joining me on the
Thanks,
road to
Paul.
self-love. This was so much fun. Like I said, we'll have to do an episode 2 and talk more about fear because I think
I know. I'm like, I could talk for 8 more hours.
8
about
more
fear,
hours.
Instagram,
Fear
everything.
and Instagram and all the things. And just, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please give it the big thumbs up. Make sure to rate and review on iTunes. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, wherever you're consuming this. It means the most to us to support this channel as it grows, and share it with your friends. I'm sure you have a friend who's struggling through some sort of, say, just like entrepreneurial struggle. They really want to start their own business, but they're not getting through. Like, Britt has a lot of experience in stepping through fear, and I think it'd be very important. So if this struck a chord with you, please share it on Instagram. Make sure to tag me at Paul Fishman, at The Self-Love Show, and also tag Britt at Swellpress. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on the road to self-love. Bye.